Spectre Vision Radio.
Welcome to El Cine Underground, where we tell you about the film history they left us out of. I'm Mariana da Silva. I'm your host, a writer, director, and all-around film geek, and we're coming to you straight from Spectre Vision Radio. Today, we're talking about the Chicano Cinema Movement. If you don't know what the term Chicano is, it is a term that represents the Mexican-American Latino. It was originally used as a derogatory term by white people and white Latinos to differentiate themselves from what they called working class.
I am Chicano. I am born for the blood of the Spanish sword and the Indian temple. I am from Arizona, Colorado, Nuevo Mexico, Texas y California. Soy de Aztlán. My grandfather gazed over our fields and watched the stallion roam. The Anglo came not to live as brothers, but as masters. The people of the sun revolted, but were silenced by the gun. Now the winds of Aztlán echo cries of hunger. Now the blood of my brothers flows over the land once ours.
In the 60s, the Chicanos took the derogatory term and made it a term of empowerment. We like to say this is punk before punk, the Chicano Cinema Movement. Punk is the art of not caring. It's the I don't need anything from anyone to make something. It's the in-your-face calling out. It's anger properly channeled, I say, into empowerment. Punk is do it yourself. I don't need anything from you. I'm going to do it in my own terms. I think there's nothing more punk than Chicano films because they were being made as an act of resistance. It was a way to tell people that did not maybe know the Latino experience in America. It talked about who we were, how we're being treated, and how talented we are. All of these films have so much heart. They have so much expression and even somewhat confusion and lots of questions about identity and what it means to be a Latino American in this country. Filmmakers who didn't ask for permission, who did not wait, who did it themselves. They understood the power of the camera and used it as a protest. The Chicano Cinema Movement rose at the same time as the 1960s Civil Rights Movement, highly influenced by the farm workers movement and the Brown Berets.
In 1965, Mexican-American farm workers were fed up with inhumane treatment and poor working conditions.
Come on up, brothers! We are waiting for you!
They walked off many California fields and refused to pick grapes. Led by Cesar Chavez, a new union changed the way the world looked at Chicanos in America.
It's important to note that before Chicanos were telling their own stories, there was depictions of the Latin struggles on film, directed by directors who were non-Latin. An early depiction of Chicano discrimination is the film The Ring from 1952, directed by Kurt Newman, starring Rita Moreno. The film tells a story of a young boy who becomes a boxer. It's here in Los Angeles, so it has these beautiful shots of Plaza Olvera.
This is Los Angeles, sprawling metropolis of the West. It's a beautiful city. It walks like a young giant from the mountains down to the sea. It has shining buildings and modern freeways. Almost engulfed by the city surrounding it lies a little street, Olvera Street, a street that appears to have been forgotten by time. Here, a group of 11 Mexican families, accompanied by some soldiers and padres, founded El Pueblo de Nuestra Señora la Reina de Los Angeles, the city of Our Lady, the Queen of the Angels.
Really beautiful aspects of the Latino Los Angeles culture, which is so prominent here.
Oh, darn it. I'm all out of film.
Oh, now isn't that a shame? And he's so picturesque. Just like that scene stamped on one of my bridge tablecloths. You know the one I mean, Ralph. The lazy Mexican sleeping against the wall.
Oh, yeah.
The lazy Mexican. Mexican.
Another film that talks about the Chicano experience is a film called Salt of the Earth from 1954, directed by Herbert Biverman, who was not Latin, but he was one of the Hollywood 10. And because him and his collaborators were blacklisted because of communist views, Salt of the Earth is one of the first films made outside of the studio system. You can call it one of the first independent films.
How shall I begin my story that has no beginning? In these arroyos, my great-grandfather raised cattle before the Anglos ever came. Our roots go deep in this place, deeper than the pines, deeper than the mine shafts. This is my village. When I was a child, it was called San Marcos. The Anglos changed the name to Zinc Town. Zinc Town, New Mexico, USA.
One of the things that I really love about this time is how a lot of people were coming together to discuss society through film, through art. Essentially, they might have not been Latin, but they did understand the struggle. This movement, like the Chicano movement and the civil rights movement, were working alongside while Hollywood was being plagued by the story of communism and making a lot of accusations and blacklisting people for not only their race, their culture, but also their views. One of the things that really stuck out to me when watching these films was how these films had multidimensional characters at a very, very early time. Salt of the Earth has an incredible female lead in her 30s.
You're a woman. You don't know what it's like up there. First, we gotta get equality on the job. Then we'll work on these other things. Leave it to the men.
I see. The men. Your strike may be for your demands, but what wives want, that comes later, always later.
Can't you think of anything except yourself?
If I think of myself, it's because you never think of me. Never, never.
Stop it. The children are watching. Stop it.
And The Ring tells a story of a Mexican-American family that isn't a token Latino family. They have issues, they have problems, they're struggling to accept one another, something that's very common to the Latin American struggle.
There will be no party here. The furniture must go back.
Can't you give us a reason?
Tell us why. We've got the right to know.
All right, I will tell you why. Because the Anglos have laid me off. I no longer have a job.
What happened, Vidal?
When an Anglo becomes old, he's promoted to a boss. But when a Mexican becomes old, he's laid off.
You don't have to work. I am working and Tomas will get a job.
And lose it on the same day.
Pa, listen, I can't ask my friends for the furniture. What'll they think of me? Of us? I got pride too.
Go see what your pride will buy in the grocery. Only men can afford pride.
You can't talk about the Chicano Cinema Movement without talking about the farm workers movement. And you could say that movement started at the movie theaters. The story goes that a Pachuco refused to sit in the balcony of a segregated theater and sat in the center, in the orchestra, an area that was only made for white people. That Pachuco was Cesar Chavez, and it was the first time he stood up and saw the importance of his own power as well as the unionization of people. It started when farm workers and laborers came together to shine a light on assimilation and workers' rights as well as inequality. And there, in the dirt, was born Teatro Campesino, the first step to the Chicano Cinema Movement, which was Luis Valdez.
By that time, I pretty much decided I wanted to be a playwright, that I wanted to be a writer, that I wanted to help my people. And so I went to Cesar Chavez and I pitched him an idea for a theater of, by, and for farm workers. And he said, bueno, está bien. He said, but you know, there's no money to do theater in Delano. There are no actors in Delano. There's no stage in Delano. There isn't even any time to rehearse. We're on strike. We picket night and day. You still want to do it? And I said, absolutely, Cesar. What an opportunity. And the fact is that the Teatro Campesino that I organized with the striking farm workers was born on the picket line. because that's the only place where we could do it. But that was the most effective place where we could really do what we needed to do, which is communicate with the workers nonviolently, communicate our ideas with humor and with a lot of energy and a lot of spirit. And that gave birth to a theater company that continues to function to this day.
So Teatro Campesino would come where there were protests and strikes, and in the back of pickup trucks, they would act out stories and scenes that would empower the people. They would call truth to power, and it ultimately was incredibly punk rock.
We are then El Teatro Campesino, farm workers of the human soul. We cultivate dreams of justice, watered with tears of laughter and a grain of salt. The universal human life of the Chicano is where we're coming from, where we're going, where we've always been.
Teatro Campesino is one of my favorite topics because it blends exactly the two things I personally love, which is the intersection of art and organizing. It was art made to empower, made to teach people about their own value. The movement itself led to a lot of great work, like Luis Valdez's most produced play, Los Vendidos, a play about value and worth and the price tag that we as Latinos have here in the United States. Using stereotypes, Los Vendidos had a really bold conversation about what it looks like from the outside and challenges what it feels like on the inside.
Yo, I'm Ana Sancho, and this is my shop. Mas antes, I used to be a labor contractor. Now I'm a businessman. Que suave, no? All I need now is a customer. A customer. Excuse me, eh? Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Miss Jimenez.
Ah, una chicana. Welcome, señorita Jimenez.
Jimenez.
¿Qué?
My name is Miss Jimenez. Don't you speak English?
Totacha, pues luego. I mean, yes, of course.
I could talk about Teatro Campesino for hours because it is, to me, the reason why I make art. And I think the reason why a lot of us should be making art, especially at this time. Luis Valdez understood the power of organizing through art because there is no greater power. If you think about it, art is a way to empower many people at once. You bring people into a theater, they sit down, they tune everything out, really, and they pay attention to your work. And that's the moment where you ask yourself, what's your work saying? What does your work say? How does it make people feel? Do they leave feeling empowered? Did they learn something? I think that's what movements are about, asking ourselves questions. And Los Vendidos was the ultimate conversation of that. It's a play about a government official coming to shop for a Mexican.
You see, I'm a secretary from the governor's office, and we're looking for a Mexican-type model for our administration.
Well, you came to the right place, señorita. This is Ana Sancho's used Mexican lot. Largest volume dealer in Mexicans this side of the Rio Grande. Any particular type you want?
Yes, we were looking for someone suave.
Suave?
Debonair.
De buen aire.
Dark.
Like un indio?
No, that's too dark. Where have you been hiding this one?
He just arrived on the plane this morning, lady. Feast your eyes on him. He has a solid U.S. steel frame inside. He is built exactly like our Anglo models, except that he comes in a variety of darker shades.
I come before you tonight as a Mexican-American to tell you of the problems of the Mexican. Now the problems of the Mexican in our midst stem from one thing and one thing only. He's stupid, uneducated. He needs to stay in school. He lacks ambition. He needs to think American. 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 God bless America. God bless America. God bless America.
Oh, my! He's patriotic, too.
Yes, he loves that word. Let me just make a little minor adjustment.
Yes.
Luis Valdez understood the power that storytelling had and the effect on how it made people feel and activated them. He understood that if he leaned into the Chicano experience, he could give voice to people who were very much ignored. After the theater, he then made I Am Joaquin, a film that featured poetry from Rodolfo Corky Gonzalez. The poem, I Am Joaquin, is mounted in short form with a voiceover of different images of the Chicano experience here in America. The film was incredibly powerful because it uses a lot of conversation about that middle line of being Latino here, right? Often you can be white passing and what that means, or if you're not white passing, what that means. And it really talks about this pocket that exists that is now becoming the majority of this country, but then was never reflected till this short film. This is why you must make your short films.
I am Joaquin, lost in a world of confusion, caught up in a whirl of an Anglo society. I look at myself and see part of me who rejects my father and my mother and dissolves into the melting pot to disappear in shame.
Mexicano! ¡Viva! Español! ¡Viva! Latino! ¡Viva! Hispano! ¡Viva! Chicano! Power! Or whatever I call myself. I look the same. I feel the same. I cry and I sing the same. I am the masses of my people and I refuse to be absorbed.
The film talks about the contradictions of what it means to be Chicano here and how we are perceived versus how we actually live. The poem, written by Rodolfo Corky Gonzalez, who was a poet, a boxer, and an artist, was incredibly impactful and put to images really has this moving effect.
We cannot afford contradictions. The Mexicano, the Chicano has been confused so often, has been used so often, and continues to be used because they use nationalism against us to get us to vote. One gringo puts on a zarape y todos los mexicanos dicen, ay, mira, parece chicano, parece mexicano y está comiendo tacos. And they vote for him. Promises can be made, but promises are hard to be kept when you don't control a Senate nor a Congress. We've had promises made before. In either case, the Chicano has come out on the short end. In either case, the only results that have come for the Chicano community has come from our reaction, has come from the marches and the struggles and the pickets, has come from the demonstrations, has come from the blood of our martyrs, has come from the cries and the screams of our children who dared to face the man.
It was rare to have a script via poems, and Luis Valdez is known for breaking a lot of form. He's somebody who is ultimately punk rock because he does not follow any rules. Ultimately, I believe because film by Latinos, films by Chicanos are not born out of film school. They're self-made. And they allow for creativity often that's not boxed in by rules and limits and storylines. It was very much about the heart and speaking to the people. And once he knew that the poem had that effect, he knew that he could put images that could impact the same kind of feeling that the poem itself exposed.
From the very first days of El Teatro Campesino, we were out in the middle of the San Joaquin Valley on top of a panel truck, surrounded by the sky, surrounded by the landscape, surrounded by vineyards, and we're doing theater. We're not in a box, you know what I mean? We're in the sphere of the earth. We are out in the open. And this became really a revelation. The moment that we showed it for the first time was like an explosion, like a silent explosion. I could hear people's hearts. Wow. I mean, it was an exciting moment that I said, film is accessible to us. We can make films.
And of course, Luis Valdez then goes back to his theater roots and writes Zoot Suit. Zoot Suit started off as a play, was mounted here in Los Angeles, and it was a complete success.
The play is based on an actual historical event, you know, the Sleepy Lagoon case of 1942, followed by the Zoot Suit riots of 1943 here in the city of Los Angeles. And it's not just LA history, it's also American history because it's World War II. And there are a lot of tensions, you know, a lot of war hysteria, because a lot of people didn't like it. They considered it to be criminal, you know, borderline criminal. And that came to a head here in Los Angeles against the Pachucos, the Mexican Americans that were wearing Zoot Suits.
Right here, an American classic, the granddaddy of them all, the 1944 East LA Zoot Suiter. Check out those classic lines, those drapes, those calcos. Sharp, eh?
What does he do?
Are you kidding? Didn't you ever hear of the Zoot Suit riots of the 40s? Why, he's a classic scapegoat. You can beat him and he bruises, cock him and he bleeds, kick him, shoot him, tear him apart. In fact, you can even kill him. And he dies. Why, a local police department just bought 20 of these to train their rookies on.
And Zoot Suit was the first studio-backed film made by a Chicano about Chicanos for Chicanos. Zoot Suit as the play was the first play on Broadway by a Chicano as well. There, Luis Valdez, while in his brother's dressing room, heard the song La Bamba, and they discussed, of course, what became But we won't open that DVD box until the episode where we cover that film fully because it deserves a lot of time. Because Luis Valdez is ultimately a founding father of Latinos in media, his voice is very, very loud and incredibly important to the Chicano Cinema Movement. But it's important to be said that there were others working alongside him with the same mission to share our stories widely.
1/3 of the women who work in the Texas garment industry are Chicanas. They earn as low as $2 a week for a 14-hour day as domestics or in laundries, while some men earn $2 a day working on the railroad. Women are the cheapest source of labor, and so our traditional role as homemaker is extended into the labor market.
Some filmmakers who were influential to the movement, and you might not know, are filmmakers like Esperanza Vasquez, a filmmaker that we couldn't find too much on here at El Cine, but was the first person to make a documentary short and Latino short that was nominated for an Oscar. The short was Aguida Martinez, Our People, Our Country, and it was nominated at the 50th Academy Awards.
Live Oscars Golden Anniversary, the 50th Annual Academy Awards presentation.
The nominees for documentary short subjects are Agueda Martinez, Our People, Our Country, Moctezuma Esperada, producer.
Aguida, the film, talks about a grandmother who migrated here and is struggling to keep her traditions going with her family. She likes the old way of life and struggles to adapt to the idea of the American lifestyle.
It was always a good life here in New Mexico. I come from a people who are very old. I have Navajo grandparents on both sides. I go to church Sunday after Sunday. Older children today seldom go near a church. That is because they are straying to another road. While before, this didn't happen. A mother would say, "Let's go to church." And we would all go. The children and grown-ups all off to church. And then we would come home.
Although her grandkids have very much modernized and become a version of Latino and American, and ultimately giving us an incredibly deep and complex view at the Chicano family.
The thing that is wrong about television is that it teaches the youngsters how to fight and how to rob. TV does nothing for me. It doesn't bewitch me. My grandchildren, they watch television. when people visit me, it doesn't matter if my grandchildren are caught up with a movie. I turn it off because I want to talk and to be with people.
And the film is beautiful. It shined a light on the Chicano experience of the female Chicana. And it has this complex conversation about the responsibility of family and the responsibility of passing down tradition. So, if you're out there or you know Esperanza Vasquez, we would love to know more about her. Please reach out. Another punk rocker of this time was Jesus Salvador Treveño, who was a boots to the ground filmmaker documenting El Movimiento and the strikes. He used Super 16 to tell stories of what was actually happening around the country. He made an incredible documentary called Yo Soy Chicano that really depicted the viewpoints and what was happening during the civil rights movement to the Chicano people.
I am a Chicano. I was born in a barrio in the southwest of what is now called the United States. My parents were both Mexicanos, but I am a citizen of the United States, a Chicano. In the southwest, my people make up 10 to 15% of the population, but I have found Chicanos throughout the United States, California, Washington, Michigan, Florida. Our survival has come from the strength of my people, from our rich Indo-Hispano heritage, from our determination to fight for education, for freedom, for peace. I am alive, y lo grito. I rejoice in a celebration of what I am. Yo soy Chicano.
You can see that political movements were always a part of Chicano cinema, often because they were trying to expose to people the treatment and the lie that is the American dream.
The Chicano movement, some years ago, was considered an impossible dream. La Raza Unida was considered an impossible dream. And this is a historic day for everyone that's here.
And there's a lot of cultural exchanges taking place and educational conferences and this sort of thing. So we must come to grips with that. But I think overall, we all agree that it's a priority because they're brothers, it's raza. But we must have our own nation here. We've got to organize our own backyards before we would try to organize anybody else's backyards.
All this is just touching the iceberg because if cinema documents history, then we've been here for a very long time. And like these punk rock filmmakers, we shouldn't be asking for permission. It's also important to say that between the time where I Am Joaquin was made, the short that really launched the Chicano film movement, to Zoot Suit, the first studio-backed Chicano-made film, there were other films being made, like Cheech and Chong and Boulevard Nights, and films by Lourdes Portillo and Silvia Morales, all filmmakers and films that we hope to get to in later episodes. Chicano cinema was ultimately Chicanos using anger and a camera to activate community. It was dangerous, it was loud, it was punk, and it was done with very little because the Chicano cinema movement wasn't born out of Hollywood studios. It wasn't born out of film schools. It was born out of really community.
And now the trumpet sounds. The music of the people stirs the revolution. Like a sleeping giant, it slowly rears its head to the sound of tramping feet.
So that's punk before punk, the Chicano cinema movement. Because punk means just doing it yourself, not asking for permission, not censoring yourself or assimilating to fit in. These movies were being made with absolutely nothing. And look at us. We now have phones that have cameras in our pockets, and there's no excuse. I do believe that we already are activating by showing people what's happening around the world. I think that is a form of organization. But it's incredibly important to tell your stories, because if it's happening for you, it's probably happening for someone else. And that's the power of film. It can bring us together in a shared experience. So make your movies. Shocker. This is not only a film podcast, it's also an empowerment podcast. Gracias for hanging out with me. And if you like this, hit subscribe for more. And follow Somos el Cine on Instagram. We'll be announcing screenings, conversations, and workshops that align with this podcast. El Cine is a film collective here in Los Angeles who's doing everything to bring these films we're talking about to your local cinema. So come along, come gather with us. Nos vemos ahí at El Cine and here on Spectre Vision Radio. This show was produced and would not be possible without the help and moral support of Angel Salinas.